is the Charleston County Republican Party chairman, and he is the Charleston County Democratic Party chairman. And in this special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I speak exclusively with both Larry Kobrovsky and Brady Quirk-Garvan. Gentlemen, let's begin this interview with some developing news. On Wednesday, the United States Justice Department announced that the alleged Emmanuel A. shooter actually has been indicted on 33 federal hate crimes and weapons charges after the massacre at Mother Emmanuel A. Church a few months ago. Larry, let me pose this question to you, because you are a lawyer, but you're not a criminal. Tell me, what's next for this alleged shooter?
Well, I would imagine the death penalty was what will ultimately, await him. But first, I do want to, welcome.
Yes.
I feel like we just met, and it's a great honor to have you here. And I just want to say that thank you for coming. And it's like we just talked briefly that, we're about to enter the presidential primary season. It's kind of the silly season. People get carried away and say lots of crazy things. So it's good to meet each other, recognize in view of what you said and talking about, that we're all Charlestonians and we're all good people working on issues. We may disagree how to get there, but we have no disrespect for people who differ. We just have different ways to get for the betterment of Charleston and our country. So thank you for coming. And
absolutely.
I look forward to getting to know you.
I think it'll be good, and as you said, it's all about we all want the best for Charleston. It's just how we get there.
And I think it's important after the tragic events that happened that we get together and make a statement of that.
That's right.
And it's hard to demonize somebody after you met somebody, and it can temper, getting to know each other can temper things down when people get carried away, which they often do.
But Larry, I want to bring you back to the alleged shooter, because a lot of people want to know what's going to happen with him next. You said death penalty, but how does that happen?
This has happened today, so I'm reading about it like you did, and I think that you have the death penalty asked for with the state crimes, and then with the federal hate crimes, that involves the resources of the U.S. government. So the practical thing is 2 prosecutions.
All right.
And so I don't know, how much it changes in terms of what happens to him, because I can't imagine the evidence not being subject to doubt, as nobody can doubt what happened and how and why, and the end result for him will probably be the same.
Yeah, because when I talked with Paul Tinkle last Friday, he basically said the evidence is clear.
Right.
That's right. I think the evidence is clear, but I think what changed the other day was the federal government stepping in and labeling it as a hate crime and saying they were going to push for charges along that, not just for murder charges, but as a hate crime. And so I think that's a important step and distinction that's been made with these new charges.
And Brady, when you heard about these federal hate charges going against the alleged Emmanuel A. shooter that is, I'm wondering, where were you personally?
I think we're all still grieving in our own ways. We're all still trying to process what happened. We're all still trying to also really take pride in the way that the city and the whole Charleston area stepped up to the plate in the aftermath. But I think what I thought that was a good and appropriate measure. I think, if you had to think about what the definition of a hate crime is, I think going into a church and murdering people seemingly just because of their race, that would be the definition of a hate crime. And so I think for me, it felt like it was a very appropriate step. And, I think now this is the part where we all need to be a little patient and let the courts work their system and go through the processes.
Larry?
Well, I think that you said it very well. Areas of agreement. I can't imagine a worse crime to have happened to us, the people in the church being, murdered and massacred because of their race and religion. Speaking as a Jew, my family came from Lithuania, and 99% of the people that were Jewish in Lithuania were all killed by the Germans and their local collaborators on site. The women and children were executed separately from the men and lined up in pits. And so the personal residence, the definition of America is where that doesn't happen here. So for that importation of something like that here is just, the horrors beyond human beings can imagine or even hard to understand the mind of somebody like that.
Something on
So
the mind
it's,
of us right now is the unity.
Right.
We saw the bridge walk. We saw
Right.
fundraisers. We saw prayer vigils.
Right.
What does the unity tell you, Larry?
I think that it says, as you just heard from my counterpart, that it represents a statement about how Charleston is and how we look at this, and I think that it speaks well for our community in terms of the complete unanimity of the reaction. I think there was no degree of separation to what your race was, your religion, or your political affiliations, and I think it was clear whatever shaped the twisted mind of this mass killer, that had nothing to do with anything from Charleston that shaped him. I think we can agree in that. He was,
right.
Nothing from here shaped him. He didn't have any background here, ties here, so whatever forces shaped his mind did not come from us. I think that was a statement of how we felt, and you saw it being expressed clearly by everybody.
I would echo the same things, and I think, it's that the phrase that sometimes it takes the worst events of humanity to bring out the best in people, and I think we saw that on display, that people felt the need to leave work to go to prayer vigils and to step up to the plate, and I think that's something that that is the most you can ask of a community, is to step up when needed, and I feel like the Charleston community did that, and that's a great and wonderful thing.
And something that was displayed 2 weeks ago actually, was the removal of the Confederate flag from the South Carolina State House grounds. I want to take you back to that day because, Larry, I'm wondering what memories play in your mind when you think of that day?
Well, I think that what happened there was a sign of the unique response to the uniquely horrible events in the history of our state and country necessitated unique responses. And I think what coming down the Confederate flag was a result of those unique circumstances. The State House grounds represents everybody. So whatever your position on the flag is, the State House grounds is something that represents everybody in the state.
Yeah. Brady, what went through your mind when you thought of that day?
For me, I felt like it was a good day for South Carolina.
Okay.
I felt like it was something that, in all honesty, should have happened. It should have come down many years beforehand. I feel like it's also a step in which I hope, and I don't think people believe this, but taking down the flag will not solve some of the underlying racial issues that exist in this state.
Yeah.
And so I think that was an important and very symbolic step.
Sure.
But part of my hope is that it is a first step, not the last step.
Yes.
That I hope, when the legislature comes back and when we as a community move forward, we say, that was great that we did that, and yet there's still more work to be done. Plenty of people said around that time that, it wasn't the flag that killed the nine in the church.
Right.
And no one ever said that.
Right.
But I think part of it is we need to then go look at what were those circumstances in his community that led him to that, and how can we help as a community and individuals to fight that kind of racism.
Yeah. Well, describe to me the following one word, Larry. Governor Chris Christie visiting Charleston on Monday. One word, because I know you like to talk.
I found it impressive, that he seemed to have a command of the facts and the presence. He had a relatability to. He came across as somebody you could relate to by his being a normal person that you can imagine sharing your problems and having understanding and empathy and articulating well and thinking on his feet. I had no preconceived notions about him because I had never met him before or seen him in action. The only thing you heard anecdotally, so I came away more impressed. My job is it's an exciting time for me to be a chairman because you have like 10 candidates or like 16 now, so I have that advantage. It's a lot of fun, but your job is to introduce each one. So my presence there was not in any way an endorsement of them. My job is to introduce and welcome and do whatever I can to make them feel welcome here and introduce them to as many people as I can, because obviously it's a good thing for me as a party chairman to introduce people to have the broader base, the better it will be for me. So that was what I was doing there. But you asked me the question, and I came away, my honest answer, very impressed about his articulateness and relatability and being able to handle all questions and you know, he made a compelling case for himself that he's in a state where he was a Republican in Congress would not necessarily be in his party, because who knows by that time what will happen, and being able to govern with people you disagree with and coming to solutions. So I thought that was a compelling argument.
Yeah. Well, and I think similarly, you know, the great part about being a county chairman is you have all these visits from people, and your job is basically to show off Charleston and show off South Carolina, and so it's a exciting time to have national media in town.
For both of us.
That's
I'm
right,
sure,
yeah,
you know,
exactly. So to me, the presidential primaries are an exciting time, and it's time when South Carolina, both parties get to play a major role in determining who the nominee will be, and that's a great thing. That's exciting for us.
Yeah, and I also like to say, you know, leadership is important, and whether you're a Republican or Democrat, you asked us about how the community responded as a testimony to morality.
Yes.
I think that was an important factor in this that we all can agree with.
He's America's mayor now.
Right. But, you know, I think his special character kind of framed how we responded.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing to acknowledge.
Yeah.
Donald Trump versus Senator Lindsey Graham.
Well, again, you know, I'm the party chairman, so our job is to welcome each of them. So, and then that's for the people to decide.
Brady, I'll let you answer.
To me, you know, Senator Lindsey Graham is someone who has been a statesman and carries himself well.
Yeah.
And I think, to me personally, I can't help but look at Donald Trump and see a lot more theatrics than substance. So, you know, to me, I think that was an interesting way to highlight their differences, and that's what I'd have to say about them.
The Charleston County Republican Party will work hard to do.
Well, again, you know, I believe I was elected the chairman of the party. Nobody elected me to be a representative in the legislature, so my job is to, and especially in the presidential year, is to welcome all the candidates and increase our base. You know, by 16 candidates, you have people all across the political spectrum, and to kind of engage them, and we're a very competitive county now, so to kind of increase our brand and our base, and as they welcome these candidates in, to capture those voters and get them engaged in electing Republicans. That's my sole focus, and everything else is, you know, secondary on that.
The Charleston County Democratic Party will work hard too.
Almost the same thing, but for Democrats. You know, I think for us, Charleston is a very important county, and the last 4 cycles they voted for a Democrat, for President Obama twice and Vincent Shaheen twice. So our goal is to make sure that going into 2016, that Charleston County has a large Democratic turnout and votes for whoever the presidential nominee is, as well as Democrats further down the ballot.
I would agree, and it's very important for both of us, because it's a exciting time for both of us. I'm sure very challenging, because neither of us wanted to see it tip the other way.
That's right.
And I've been here long enough now. When Charleston everybody elected was a Democrat, and then everybody was elected was a Republican. We're in a state of flux now, so and there's lots of reasons for that. So I hope it's a good battle of ideas, you know, and that's part of what we want to do today. That ultimately we are here for the same reasons. We see different ways of getting there. You know, profoundly different ways, but you know, to respect each other in the process.
That's right.
Well, Charleston County Republican Party Chairman Larry Kobrovsky, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Brady Quirk-Garvan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Democratic Party Chairman.
Welcome you very much.